All right, ladies and gentlemen, we welcome you back to the Steve Malzberg Show, and joining us right now, once again, is Professor of Law at Harvard Law School, author of Taking the Stand, My Life in the Law, the one and only Alan Dershowitz. Hello, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you, and thank you for mentioning my book. I appreciate it. It's my autobiography, and I think people will enjoy it.
Well, you're going to be up here in a week or two, whenever you come to New York, and we're going to have you sit down in here in the studio with me, and we're going to go in depth on the book. I look forward to that, Alan. Thank you very much for that opportunity. But let me ask you about. I was a little surprised, pleasantly, in my case, by Sonia Sotomayor in her two-sentence statement on New Year's Eve, where she basically delayed a portion of the employer or the mandate, the contraceptive mandate in the Obamacare bill, where religious institutions would be forced to provide birth control in their health care policies. Your take on that?
Yeah, no, it's interesting because the lawyers picked a brilliant case to bring in front of Judge Sotomayor. It involves a small group of nuns who cater to 100 or so elderly people. And what could be more sympathetic to anybody, whether you're Catholic or not Catholic, but certainly to Justice Sotomayor, who grew up basically in the shadow of that kind of teaching. And these are nuns who say they can't violate their own religious principles. And I think they have a good shot at prevailing. Remember, when Congress passed the law, they provided compromises already. There are three groups of people: for-profit payers, they're not exempt; religious institutions, they are totally exempt from this; and then this little category of religiously based institutions that has a kind of intermediate ground. They can file some kind of a statement in lieu of actually doing the insurance. And the question is whether the Supreme Court will uphold that compromise or will say it didn't go far enough. Look, I think there are two principles that are clear in American law. Number one is that you don't make people violate their religious principles unless there's a very, 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 very strong and compelling reason for it. And number two, you don't give people a free ride. And I think there's room for compromise, and the free ride will be eliminated, I think, if Congress were to say, look, we're not going to make you pay for contraceptive or birth control care, but we're going to make you pay an equivalent amount that can go toward curing cancer or diagnosing other serious illnesses. And that would probably satisfy the conscience of the religious folks and also satisfy the pocketbooks of Congress and the bill itself.
All right, and we'll see where that, of course, the Supreme Court is going to hear two other cases, one with Hobby Lobby and one with another private firm, because they believe that they shouldn't be forced to provide what they don't believe in, religiously speaking, either.
Yeah, and look, the whole health care bill shouldn't be scuttled because of what is a relatively small part of it. This is a relatively small part, and the health bill would have done fine if it didn't cover this kind of thing and required people to insure for it themselves. But they decided to go all the way, and inevitably there's going to be a religious conflict, and the Supreme Court is there to resolve these religious conflicts. I don't know whether it will have any influence on the court, but this is a very unusual Supreme Court. It has 6 Catholics and 3 Jews. There's not a single Protestant on the Supreme Court, an institution that was all Protestant.
Right.
For the first, 150 years, basically, of our existence, and used to have 1 Catholic seat and 1 Jewish seat. And now it's a Supreme Court that, there are going to be a lot of people on that court that are sympathetic to religious views. And so it's not easy to predict how the case will come out, but it's an important case.
Let me ask you a question, Alan. The Ed Snowden, both the Guardian and the New York Times today publishing editorials urging the Obama administration to give Ed Snowden, if not an outright pardon, at least reduced punishment. What's your take on that?
Well, I think it would be an outrage to give him an outright pardon. He committed a crime. He committed a crime knowingly, and he had alternatives. There are generally a series of rules before you can be considered somebody who engaged in whistleblowing or some kind of civil disobedience. Number one, you have to cause the least amount of possible damage possible. He violated that rule. For example, he gave information that showed that we were monitoring prime ministers of other countries. That's perfectly legal. Nothing in our Constitution that protects Ehud Olmert, the prime minister of Israel, or the Prime Minister, the Chancellor of Germany, from our ears. They listen to us, we listen to them. That's business as usual. And he revealed that. And that was very embarrassing to the United States, and he didn't have to do that. It wasn't consistent with what he claimed he had to do,
right.
That is reveal that rights were being violated. Second, he didn't do everything possible before going public. He didn't try to first say to Congress, look, there's this program. I'm not going to tell you any of the things that are in the program. I'm not going to reveal any of the sources, and I'll do that in a classified briefing. But I want everybody to know that the government is listening. He didn't do that. He went right away to the last alternative. And then the third rule is you got to come back and taste the music. And the idea that we should give him a pardon is wrong. Whether a plea bargain is appropriate, that's for people who know more about this, to balance the risks of what he's holding back.
Right.
If it were a plea bargain, it would be an extorted plea bargain. Why did he take all this information with him to Russia, where it could easily be overheard by Russian intelligence, Chinese intelligence? Why did he take it with him?
And you got no guarantee that he won't, even if he's pardoned or whatever, or cuts a deal, that he won't reveal them again. Listen, I know it's impossible, but in 30 seconds, Ariel Sharon took a turn for the worst. He's been in a coma for 8 years. Just some of your thoughts in about 35 seconds or so.
Well, he was a great man. He was the George Washington of Israel. First, he saved the country militarily, and then he turned toward peace. I was with him just a few weeks before he had his stroke, and he told me that he was planning to end some of the settlements on the West Bank unilaterally as well. I mean, his stroke was a real setback for peace. He saved Israel on many occasions militarily, and then he tried his best to bring about peace. I have enormous admiration for him.
All right, Alan, I look forward to you coming up here in a few weeks, and thank you very much, Alan Dershowitz. The book is Taking the Stand, My Life in the Law. We look forward to it. Happy New Year again, and thank you, sir.
Happy New Year to everybody. Thank you.
Take care. Alan Dershowitz, ladies and gentlemen. We're coming back. Our friend John Fund will be here to discuss de Blasio and more on the Steve Malzberg Show, Newsmax TV and radio.
The Steve Malzberg Show.